Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the 100K Hairstylist podcast. Today is an exciting journey for those of you who have been tuning in to my previous episodes all about beauty school. Yes, girl, we are starting from the very, very beginning. And we have talked all about in the previous episodes, if you haven't checked them out, you should, all about how to succeed in beauty school and, how to even become a cosmetologist for those of you who are joining me who are interested in becoming a beauty professional. And so now today, I am talking all about how you can pass the written and practical cosmetology exam. So this is a huge one. I know that I get a lot of interns in our salon. For those of you who don't know, I work in the largest Aveda network salon in the Chicagoland area. And we have a lot of interns that help us here at the salon. They are a crucial part of what we do, and we love them. And recently, I have had a lot of interns telling me about how they're going to take the state board exam, and it's very stressful and overwhelming. But what if I told you that you could very easily take away all of that stress and overwhelm just with a little bit of preparation? That would sound great, right? And so that's exactly what I'm going to show you today, is all about how to get prepped so that you can pass that state board exam and get into your career. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right on into the deets. So, first and foremost, I think one of the most important things to discuss here is that you have to study. I know that sounds pretty self-explanatory, but you'd be surprised how many people wait all the way up until the very last moment to start studying for their exam. And I think that if you are already out on the clinic floor working, you have had a majority of your theory in classroom, and it's time to start practicing up until the day of your exam. So that's a good indication. If you've completed a majority of your theory work, it is time to start studying. So my recommendation is to set aside time every single day so that you can study and challenge yourself to sort of beat your highest score, because then it becomes kind of like a little bit of a competitive situation, so that you can kind of up your score every single time you study for the exam. So practice up until the day of your exam. Start right away. Super, super important. Another thing is, don't avoid studying the things that you find the hardest, okay? I find that people try to avoid things like anatomy, and they try to avoid things that are just a little bit more complicated until the end. And I really don't feel that you should do that. I feel you should tackle the hardest things right from the jump. Because like I said, if you're practicing early and up until the day of your exam, you should start with those hardest things so that you can master those and really understand that particular part that you struggle with, so that way it becomes much, much easier when you're studying for all the rest of the things that are kind of a breeze for you. So don't avoid studying for the things that you find the hardest. Tackle the hardest subjects first, and the rest of the studying will be a breeze. So another thing that I like to tell people who are on their way to taking the exam is to try to study with your cosmetology pals. It can make it a little bit more fun. I had a little group. I had two people. You can call me a nerd, whatever. I don't care. I love it. I had two people that I studied with, and not only was it so much fun because, we could do a little sip and a little study. It was a good time. We kikied and studied at the same time, but it just makes it so much more fun because, let's face it, some things that you have to study for in this exam are not particularly the most fun, but it has to be done in order for the state to qualify you as a cosmetologist. So grab some friends, do a little kiki, and study it up. So when you're practicing for the cosmetology written exam, time yourself when you're studying, because the written portion has 100 multiple choice questions, and they have to be completed within about 90 minutes. So you've only got 90 minutes to complete 100 multiple choice questions. So it is very, very important that every time you practice, you set a timer and you complete it within that 90 minutes. Again, like I said, make it a game. Challenge to one-up your time every single time that you take a practice quiz, so that this way you can get it completed earlier than that. So 90 minutes is all you get, girl. That's it. 100 multiple choice questions. So that's like, studying for the written part of it. Now for the practical exam, you have to perform things in a very step-by-step and exact order. So make sure you know how to sterilize your equipment. Okay, all of that sanitation practice comes into play for those of you who are taking practicals. And, make sure that you know how to sterilize your workstation and your hands. These are all things that people will be looking for in the hands-on practical portion. Now, I live here in Illinois, and in Illinois, we don't have a practical where you have to, do an actual technique in front of a panel or a board. We just have the written exam, and you either pass or you fail. It is what it is. And it's up to the school to decide whether or not you are ready from a practical standpoint. And if you're doing that many hours, at that point you should have the basic skill set that you need to do the job. But a lot of states require that you take a practical, meaning that you have a model or a mannequin and you jump in and you show them what you can do. So just make sure you know how to sterilize your equipment, your workstation, and your hands, girl. Especially right now, with the addition of the maskaroo during this COVID-19 pandemic. So sterilization is going to be key. So another thing I want to mention is make sure your used materials during the practical end up in the trash and not next to it. If you put it on your workstation or you throw it somewhere next to the trash, it can result in deducted points. I have heard this happen to other people, and I just feel like it would be important to give you the heads up to make sure that your trash actually ends up in the trash during your practical exam, so that you don't get docked points that could ultimately be a pass or fail for you, depending upon how you do in the written portion of the exam. So one other thing I like to note, and this is a little hot tip, and this is going to completely take the stress and overwhelm away from you, I promise. And this is what I tell every single person who comes to me and says, I'm scared, I'm taking the state board. I'm like, don't panic. Here's what you got to do. Make sure that you take advantage of the exam preparation books that are available to you. A lot of beauty schools actually don't offer these. They just give you like little tests that they've created on their own and things like that. But there are actual exam preparation books from the top cosmetology textbooks. We're talking Pivot Point and Milady's, and they create these little books, these little guides that you can purchase that will be exactly like the state board test. I mean, to a T. And what I'll do for those of you who are joining me live here on YouTube and on Facebook, I will go ahead and send a link in the comments below and also in the description on YouTube, so that you can link over to the Milady's and Pivot Point textbooks and get those little exam preparation books. This is going to be huge for you. If you want to pass that written exam, these are the ones that you need to get. So I will send you some links below. Of course, they are affiliate links, because giving you this free content, we want to make sure that a girl's getting paid, okay? So click those below and head on over to get those preparation books so that you can pass the damn thing. Now, remember the basics, girls and boys. We want to make sure that you are bringing a picture state ID for the day of your exam, and that you know all of the guidelines. First of all, they want to make sure that you can identify yourself. They don't want your brother or your sister or somebody who's already licensed going to take your test. So bring your exam, or bring your ID to your exam, and know your guidelines, because some states are very, very specific. For example, I have heard of students who didn't know that they had to provide their own mannequin head with them to the exam. exam, and they showed up to the exam thinking that they were going to have one provided to them, and it was not, and then they had to wait to retake the exam again. So don't do that to yourself. Make sure that you look at all of the guidelines via your state, because they can be very, very specific like that. Some states require that you bring an actual model in, a live person. So it's very, very important that you know all of the guidelines. You can get them through your state, and you can also ask for them through your beauty school. They should have them as well. So with all of that said, you know all of the tips here that I'm giving you. And like I said, if you get that state board exam preparation book, you are going to be golden. But on occasion, nerves get the best of us, and I have heard of people who did not pass on the first try. And I just want to say, don't let that get you down, okay? If you only pass one portion of the exam, you have up to a year to pass the other portion, okay? So let's say you failed the practical because nerves got the best of you, but you passed the written. You have a whole nother year that you can pass that other portion when you take it again. There's no limit on how many times you can retake it, but I think there's a limit on how many times you can retake it in a certain period of time for some states. But there is no limit, so don't worry. Dust yourself off and try again, all right? And I often find that people who do that pass it on the second try. So, like I said, just make sure that you ground yourself and mentally prepare yourself for the practical. I always like to just take a moment to sort of feel my feet on the ground, and it just, allows me to take a deep breath for a moment and ground myself so that I can get started in whatever I'm doing, whether it is a class or a presentation or a podcast, for example. And I think that little hot tip could work for you as well, to just sort of calm those nerves the day of the practical exam. But if you have to pass it again, like I said, or if you have to take it again, no worries. You can have up to a year to pass the other portion and also retake the test. So I hope that this was helpful for you guys. I know that I kind of ran through those, so I'll recap them super quickly so that you know exactly what to do. Make sure that you are studying right away, all right? After you've completed a majority of your theory, get hot on studying up until the day of your exam. Study every single day and try to beat your highest score. Don't avoid studying the hardest things. Get those things out of the way first, because it makes the rest of the studying super, super easy. And when you're practicing for the written exam, make sure that you take time to document how long it's taking you to complete the exam. So 90 minutes is all you get for 100 questions. For the practical exam, you must perform every step in an exact order. So make sure you memorize the steps. Practice makes perfect. Know your sterilization. That is key right now with everything that is going on in the world, and they will be looking for it. So make sure you know how to sterilize your equipment, your workstation, and your hands. Okay, and then make sure that the materials you use during your practical end up in the trash and not next to it. You will be deducted points for that. And take advantage of the preparation tools. I will say it 100 zillion times. Go into the description and in the comments and click on the links that I've provided for you. It'll take you to the Miladies and the Pivot Point books so that you can succeed. And then if you don't pass on the first try, dust yourself off and try again. You have up into a year to pass the other portion if you only passed one. So I hope that this helps calm those nerves and takes away a little bit of that stress and overwhelm. I always love coming to you guys every Monday and talking all things hair. I am so excited that we have gotten through the very beginning basics of beauty school, because I know that there are a ton of you out there that needed these tips in the journey that you're at right now. And in the next episode, we are going to be jumping into tips that are going to set you up for success as a hairdresser. So the key things that make you successful as a hairdresser. And I can't wait to start getting into those as well and start giving you all of those hot tipperoos. So thank you for joining me, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.